Gilgamesh, subtitled Recovering the Masterpiece of Babylonian Literature, because that's what it is. But first of all, we do have to ask ourselves the question.
Andrew George, the world's leading Assyriologist, has spent a lifetime decoding the Epic of Gilgamesh. He has finally spoken, revealing truths hidden for centuries. His words are urgent, powerful, and impossible to ignore. Before the end of his journey, he pleads with us all. Listen carefully, because what he shares will stay with you forever. How the Epic of Gilgamesh returned to the world. Deep in the sands of ancient Mesopotamia, the clay tablets containing the Epic of Gilgamesh lay undisturbed for thousands of years. Despite the passage of time and the rise and fall of civilizations, the tablets remained concealed. When the tablets were rediscovered, the journey to bring them back to the world was like a complex, thorough investigation spanning across continents and centuries. Archaeologists started excavating the ruins of Nineveh in the mid-19th century. Nineveh was a powerful Assyrian city located near modern Mosul in Iraq. They found the legendary library of King Ashurbanipal as they dug through layers of history. In this ancient library, they discovered many clay tablets with cuneiform writing. These tablets contained records, prayers, histories, and stories. Among them were pieces of a long poem that was unknown at the time. The fragments were found under collapsed palace walls and were preserved by chance. However, the meaning of the text on the tablets remained a mystery. The pivotal moment happened in 1872 when George Smith, a self-taught expert in Assyriology at the British Museum, made a startling discovery. While examining some broken pieces, he noticed they held a flood story that resembled the one in the Bible about Noah. This news surprised both scholars and the public. It especially shocked Victorian society to learn that a similar tale existed in Babylon centuries before the biblical version. When Smith revealed his findings to the Society of Biblical Archaeology in London on December 3rd, it sparked a new dialogue between science and religion. This breakthrough also provided an opportunity for researchers trying to interpret ancient literature and the cultures that produced it. Shortly after making this important discovery, the Daily Telegraph paid for Smith to travel to Nineveh in order to find the remaining pieces wanted to finish the flood story and put together the full epic. His efforts connected the fragments in a way that allowed the Epic of Gilgamesh to become recognized as one of the oldest literary treasures in history. Despite the tablets being incomplete, the pieces he uncovered helped to reveal a more complete version of a story that had been forgotten for centuries. Regrettably, Smith passed away at the young age of 36 during his third expedition. As a result, much of the epic remains fragmented and in need of further study and reconstruction by future scholars. Despite his brief life, Smith's efforts sparked widespread interest worldwide in Mesopotamian literature and the profound human themes embedded in these ancient texts. Thanks to him, the Epic of Gilgamesh was no longer overlooked and buried in ruins. Instead, it became a gateway for contemporary readers to explore ancient concepts, ancient civilizations, and eternal human inquiries. After many years of silence, the ancient epic began to be heard again, thanks to scholars who carried on the work started by Smith. They carefully studied the script and deciphered the meaning behind each symbol. Piecing together the fragments of the epic into a coherent text was a difficult task that required expertise in language and culture. The scholars had to be patient, attentive, and show respect for the ancient civilization that created the story. Through their work, they demonstrated that ancient writings still hold valuable lessons for modern society. This extensive journey resulted in the emergence of a significant contemporary individual, Andrew George, a researcher who conducted in-depth studies and precise translations to produce the most comprehensive and easily understandable English rendition of the Epic of Gilgamesh. His efforts made it possible for people worldwide to comprehend the meaning found within the ancient tablets, making the epic accessible in educational settings, libraries, and for personal reading enjoyment. Thanks to his scholarly work, the ancient poem is not only seen as a piece of history, but also as a story that remains relevant today. Andrew George's life and work demonstrate how ancient stories can transcend time and remain relevant today. The Epic of Gilgamesh has transformed from hidden clay tablets to a widely read text. The process of rediscovering, piecing together, and sharing this ancient epic highlights the impact of human curiosity. The tablets did not just appear on their own. but required the collaborative effort of many individuals over many years. As a result, this epic now serves as a significant link between the past and present. Andrew George and the Revival. Andrew George spent many years studying Assyria and the Epic of Gilgamesh, becoming a top expert in the field. He is known for his clear and straightforward writing style, which makes his work accessible to all readers. George painstakingly collected and compared every fragment of the ancient story to reconstruct the most accurate version possible. Thanks to his dedication, a text that was once considered irreparably damaged has been restored for full understanding once again. George's translation stands out because he makes it a priority to maintain the authentic voice of ancient Mesopotamia. Unlike previous translators who imposed modern beliefs or interpretations onto the text, George remains true to the original by closely studying the cause material and paying attention to every aspect. His expertise in Akkadian and Sumerian languages allows him to uncover hidden nuances in the ancient texts that had previously gone unnoticed. Through his meticulous approach, George has produced a translation that is more faithful to the original than any other before it. His translation of the epic for Penguin Classics in 2003 became the most popular English version. During that time, there were 217 known causes for the epic, with 184 dating back to the first millennium. George went through all these materials and crafted a version that was easy for readers to understand. He also added detailed notes and comments to guide readers in comprehending the story's cultural, historical, and literary context. These notes show how the narrative evolved over the centuries and different kingdoms, demonstrating how each period added new dimensions to the tale. Through his work, George bridges the gap between the ancient world and modern readers, enabling people today to connect with a story that has endured for thousands of years. George often uses the phrase, "Before I die, please listen," in connection with his work. This shows how urgently he wants to share the valuable wisdom found in the ancient lines of the Epic of Gilgamesh. He believes that this epic is more than just an old text or a rare artifact. It is a profound expression of humanity, offering lessons, sadness, and hope. The insights contained within the epic are still relevant in today's world. By translating the epic, George encourages people to contemplate deep questions about life and death, drawing on nearly 5,000 years of human history. His work serves as a gateway to exploring the timeless inquiries that humans have been pondering since the dawn of civilization. George has often explained that the Epic of Gilgamesh is not just a story about powerful leaders, gods, or brave acts. Instead, it is a reflection of what it means to be human. His translation emphasizes the main ideas in the tale: the importance of friendship, the sadness of losing someone, and the ongoing quest for purpose. These ideas resonate with people from all walks of life and have a lasting impact. By focusing on the emotional heart of the epic, George helps readers connect with its depth. He reveals its intricate layers, its uncertainties, and the genuine emotions at its core, which makes the ancient narrative feel relevant and vivid. George's work is more than just an academic accomplishment. It also shows a strong link to humanity and the tales that influenced ancient civilizations. When George discusses his favorite parts, like the untamed cedar forest or the friendship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu, his true enthusiasm is evident. Through his attention to detail, he brings ancient settings to life, merging the past and present and making the feelings of long ago seem almost tangible. It is crucial to understand that the Epic of Gilgamesh was not originally a fully formed, polished tale. It evolved gradually over time, incorporating elements from various eras and locations. Each generation made slight modifications, introducing fresh interpretations and recollections. The living legacy of the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Epic of Gilgamesh we know today came from a long process that took thousands of years. It wasn't originally one single story, but a collection of 5 separate Sumerian poems from around 2100 BCE. These early poems praise the king of Uruk, emphasizing his strength, actions, and larger-than-life character. The stories were performed individually, sometimes in royal courts like King Shulgi's. Each poem told a full story meant to entertain and honor the hero Gilgamesh. Over time, these individual stories were systematically preserved and reproduced in writing schools, especially in ancient cities such as Nippur-Yang. Scribes were taught not only how to write, but also the cultural traditions of their society through transcribing these oral legends. By practicing this method, the saga of Gilgamesh was passed down from generation to generation, upheld through meticulous copying and detailed examination. Around 18,000 BCE, a significant change took place with the development of the Old Babylonian rendition. This was an early effort to combine the individual stories into one coherent account. Named Surpassing All Other Kings, this version was recorded in Akkadian, representing a noteworthy linguistic and cultural transition. The combining of the Gilgamesh stories showed both literary goals and the social and political transformations happening in ancient Mesopotamia cities were going through turmoil. Rulers were changing, and the literary tradition adapted to these changes. Around the 18th century BCE, many cities in southern Mesopotamia were deserted, and their schools for scribes shut down. The focus of literature then shifted to the north, and different versions and dialects of the Gilgamesh tale from Babylon started to spread. The changing texts demonstrate how shifts in power and cultural influences kept reshaping the epic, making sure it stayed relevant through the years. Between 1300 and 1000 BCE, a major moment in the development of the epic took place when the Babylonian scholar Sinlik-Unini put together the version that would become the standard Babylonian epic. Instead of just copying old texts, he combined various oral and written traditions carefully. This version he created tackled both literary and philosophical issues of the time. By starting with the well-known line, "He who saw the deep," Sinlik-Unini added great depth and consistency to the story, transforming Gilgamesh into a fully fleshed-out character on a journey examining human life and death. The standard Babylonian version of the Epic of Gilgamesh is made up of 12 tablets, with only about 2/3 of them still existing. The most complete copy was discovered in the library of King Ashurbanipal in Nineveh, dating back to the 7th century BCE. These tablets were used as the basis for modern translations and studies, such as that of Andrew George, whose work made the epic more accessible to present-day readers. The Babylonian epic tells a strong and consistent story. The first 11 tablets show Gilgamesh changing from a proud king to a wise and understanding leader who learns to accept his own mortality. Scholars view the 12th tablet as an addition, presenting an older Sumerian story in a more direct way. This tablet introduces some inconsistencies in the characters and is seen as disrupting the carefully crafted storyline of the epic. Gilgamesh is revealed to us through his relationships, adventures, and philosophical challenges in these tablets. The epic compares his journey with gods, monsters, and mythic lands. The detailed depiction of his meetings with legendary beings like Humbaba shows the creativity and skill of the ancient writers. Even now, new tablet pieces are being found that help us understand the Epic of Gilgamesh better. These fragments show us new information and emphasize the fact that the epic was continually changing and evolving during its time. The timeless lessons. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest stories in human history, and it delves into deeply human experiences. The story revolves around themes of friendship, loss, courage, and the universal desire to go beyond the limitations of life. Gilgamesh, a real historical figure, was the 5th king of Uruk, ruling in the 26th century BCE. His reign was characterized by great power, which he used without limits. His actions often negatively impacted his people and displayed his arrogance. In order to challenge this arrogance, the gods created Enkidu, a wild man who would eventually become both Gilgamesh's equal and his companion. Enkidu and Gilgamesh initially fought each other. Their first meeting was full of disagreement, but it soon turned into a strong friendship. This close bond had a significant impact on Gilgamesh, helping him learn to understand others and control his impulsive behavior. Enkidu taught Gilgamesh about the value of relationships and the common humanity we all share. Their friendship was not just a personal change, but also a major theme in the epic. Through their bond, Gilgamesh started to feel emotions and deal with difficulties he had never encountered as a powerful ruler. Gilgamesh and Enkidu went on risky adventures together, One important quest was when they traveled to the cedar forest to face Humbaba, the fierce guardian chosen by the gods. Defeating Humbaba showed how brave and skilled they were, but it upset the gods and hinted at future troubles. It highlighted the idea that even heroic deeds can lead to negative outcomes. This part of the story demonstrates the fine line between ambition, courage, and the obligations of having power. The friendship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu was put to the test when Enkidu became seriously ill and ultimately passed away. Gilgamesh was profoundly impacted by the death of his friend, which made him confront the reality of death for the first time. Before this loss, Gilgamesh hadn't thought about death. The death of his friend made him realize how fragile life is and how death is something that everyone will face, regardless of their strength or status. This realization prompted Gilgamesh to go on a journey to find Utnapishtim, the only human who was granted immortality after surviving a catastrophic flood. Gilgamesh faced many difficult obstacles during his journey that pushed him to his limits physically, mentally, and emotionally. He traveled through expansive and untamed lands, experienced trials from the gods, and encountered challenges that showed the boundaries of human abilities. A significant moment was when Utnapishtim asked Gilgamesh to stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights. Gilgamesh couldn't do it, which showed that humans cannot avoid the natural processes of life, death, and rest. This test highlighted a key lesson of the story. Humans cannot achieve eternal life, and it is important to recognize and accept our limitations. The reason why the Epic of Gilgamesh continues to be popular is because it reflects experiences that all humans can relate to. The epic deals with the idea that loss is unavoidable, friendship is important, and finding meaning in life is essential. It shows how experiencing pain and recognizing our own mortality can help us grow and develop as individuals. In a society that often prioritizes power, living long lives, and being in control, the epic emphasizes that true wisdom comes from accepting things as they are. It demonstrates that life is more fulfilling when we embrace our mortality and find purpose in our existence. The lesson focuses on the friendship between Gilgamesh and Enkidu. Their bond shows how relationships can change people for the better. Enkidu's friendship makes Gilgamesh more understanding and caring, moving him away from being arrogant and impulsive. On the other hand, Gilgamesh's support helps Enkidu become more civilized and cultured. This friendship reflects how ancient Mesopotamians saw friendships as important for personal growth and change. Even thousands of years later, this idea still connects with readers today. Gilgamesh's sadness after Enkidu's death shows how love and losing someone important can change people. His grieving shows how strong relationships can affect us and reminds us that death is unavoidable. The story doesn't ignore the deep emotions that come with losing someone, proving that even powerful people have to deal with sadness and weakness. Gilgamesh's change from a selfish king to a caring, understanding person shows that he has learned important lessons about life, death, and how we should treat others. The epic explores themes of death, leading, and relationships, offering deep insights into the concept of power. Gilgamesh realizes that being a good leader involves more than just being strong or conquering others. It also includes wisdom, kindness, and the ability to cope with life's challenges. His character development, influenced by loss and contemplation, shows that finding true meaning in life requires accepting that life is temporary and treasuring the connections that bring value to our existence. In simple terms, the Epic of Gilgamesh remains popular because it delves into what it means to be human. The story's focus on friendship, bravery, sadness, and the pursuit of purpose is timeless. It shows us that our lives are shaped by the connections we make, the obstacles we overcome, and the wisdom we gain from knowing our limits. From power to wisdom, from mortality to meaning, Gilgamesh's journey changes how he views leadership and human life. At first, he is said to be mostly divine and partly human. Even though he has divine blood, he still acts cruel and selfish. His leadership is defined by control and his own wants, causing conflict with his subjects and the gods. His strength and pride set him apart, but also keep him alone. Despite his power, he doesn't grasp the essence of being a ruler. His life started to shift after going through various experiences, particularly the passing of his friend Enkidu. This event marked a significant change for him. The death of his closest companion made him realize the vulnerability of life and the heavy responsibilities that come with being a leader. It led to a transformation from a tyrannical ruler to a more thoughtful and wise leader. This transformation represented a shift in Mesopotamian beliefs about power. Gilgamesh learned that leadership is not just about physical strength, conquering others, or instilling fear. It is about understanding people, showing empathy, making wise decisions, and acknowledging the limitations of human life. The walls of Uruk are seen as a representation of a new understanding. They stand for more than just being made of stone and brick. They symbolize the culture, organization, and historical memory of a community. By these walls, the legacy of Gilgamesh is carried on, not because he wanted to live forever, but because he made a lasting impression on his city and its future. His story emphasizes that real success is measured by the influence a person has on the world and the people around them. One important part of Gilgamesh's growth in the story is when he accepts that humans are mortal. At first, he did not want to die because he was proud and wanted to be above limits. However, when his friend Enkidu dies, he realizes that all people have to face death eventually. This realization changes him, making him understand that death is something that all humans must experience according to the gods. He starts to see that what matters in life is not how long it is, but the meaningful actions and deeds we do. Instead of being a curse, mortality becomes something that adds purpose and significance to life. As a leader, Gilgamesh also learns that it's not just about power and control, but also about taking on responsibility, personal growth, and understanding the limits of life. The story teaches us that a good ruler is not someone who rules by fear or force, but someone who leads with kindness, empathy, and wisdom. Friendship is important in the story of Gilgamesh. His friendship with Enkidu changes him a lot. Because of their friendship, he starts to see himself better. Both as a regular guy and as a leader, Enkidu pushes him to be better, helps him see the world outside of his own wants. Enkidu is kind of like a mirror for Gilgamesh, showing him what he's missing and making him more humble. Enkidu's mix of wildness and kindness, strength and vulnerability, evens out Gilgamesh's personality. Their friendship connects the individual to society, the divine to the human, and pride to understanding. Enkidu's death deeply affects Gilgamesh, making him realize the emptiness of losing a close connection. The loss prompts Gilgamesh to mature and learn the importance of emotional intelligence and connecting with others as a leader. Through his grief and self-reflection, Gilgamesh undergoes a significant transformation. Scholars like Andrew George feel a strong need to share the Epic of Gilgamesh because they believe it holds important lessons. The story is not just about exciting adventures or heroic deeds. It is about a person's quest for wisdom, kindness, and insight. It teaches the importance of being aware of life's fragility and the value of relationships. The epic shows that real strength comes from understanding, connecting with others, and making a positive impact that lasts. Gilgamesh's tale still holds significance because it connects the past with the present. In current conversations about leadership, there is a focus on qualities like emotional intelligence, vulnerability, and empathy. These traits, which Gilgamesh develops through his own experiences of loss and friendship, are essential to the concept of effective leadership. By examining his story, we come to understand that a leader's personal growth is intertwined with universal human emotions like love, grief, and acceptance. Gilgamesh teaches us that sheer strength is insufficient on its own. True wisdom is found in fully embracing life, acknowledging its boundaries, and creating a meaningful legacy. Andrew George and the Living Wisdom of Gilgamesh. Andrew George's connection to the Epic of Gilgamesh goes beyond academic interest. It is a personal mission that has greatly influenced his life. He has spent many years translating, interpreting, and bringing back to life this ancient masterpiece. His goal is not just to make the text easier to understand, but to capture the true voice of the epic for modern readers. To George, the Epic of Gilgamesh is more than a historical artifact. It is a timeless conversation that explores themes of life, death, love, and the pursuit of meaning. He passionately wants people to listen to this epic's message, as he believes it holds valuable wisdom that should not go unnoticed. George sees the Epic of Gilgamesh as a reflection of the essence of human life. The stories in the epic deal with some of the most basic truths of existence. It portrays death not as something to be afraid of, but as a fact of life that everyone must eventually confront. The epic captures the deep sadness of losing loved ones, the confusion of grief, and the desire for something beyond our limited time on Earth. Despite the passage of centuries, modern readers can still relate to the emotions depicted in the epic. The feelings of friendship, fear, loss, and hope are just as powerful now as they were thousands of years ago. George points out that this connection through time shows that humans have always struggled with the same questions, hopes, and fears. Through Gilgamesh, we learn that these experiences are all part of a shared human history that connects us to those who lived before us. George believes that readers should accept and appreciate the raw and messy nature of epics. He thinks that stories like Gilgamesh do not provide easy solutions or tidy endings, because life itself is complicated, uncertain, and sometimes contradictory. Instead of looking for simple answers, George encourages readers to embrace the complexity of the epic, which he believes showcases the unfiltered essence of humanity. The epic explores doubts, fears, failures, and the eventual acceptance of life's truths, all of which are experiences that shape our identities. George argues that by confronting these realities, readers can reflect on their own struggles and understanding of what it means to be human. George learned from the epic the importance of living in the moment and enjoying life instead of always seeking immortality or avoiding life's challenges. A tavern keeper in the story advises savoring daily pleasures, which George sees as a form of mindfulness similar to modern practices. The epic teaches readers to appreciate small moments of happiness in life and to pause and appreciate them rather than constantly chasing unfulfilling goals. George is amazed at how wisdom from thousands of years ago still teaches valuable lessons about living well today. George believes that the Epic of Gilgamesh teaches important lessons about maturity. He thinks that personal growth often comes from struggles, hardships, and failures. Life is not always easy. Victories don't come without challenges. True wisdom and strength come from facing difficulties, accepting losses, and learning from them. Many people try to avoid difficulties because they think it's unnecessary or unfair. However, the epic shows that adversity is necessary for personal development. By overcoming challenges and dealing with the tough parts of life, we grow stronger and more resilient. George is impressed by how the epic continues to teach these lessons to new generations. The ancient wisdom in the poem still has value today in teaching us about the importance of perseverance, self-reflection, and growth through experience. George has helped us understand the important aspects of the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's more than just a story to be studied in school. It's about how to live a fulfilling life. The epic discusses friendship, death, and finding our purpose in the world. It reminds us that life is short and delicate. The story encourages us to appreciate our relationships, enjoy moments, and leave a lasting impact. George's work brings these lessons to life for modern readers. He makes sure that the wisdom from ancient Mesopotamia can still be understood today, leading to deep and meaningful insights. Andrew George's commitment to studying the Epic of Gilgamesh is outstanding in both its size and depth. His lifelong dedication allows readers not only to read the text, but also to feel and think about its emotional and philosophical value. He believes that this ancient poem is not just a historical document, but a common part of human experience. The epic connects the past to the present, demonstrating that throughout history, people have grappled with similar fears, desires, and aspirations. Through his research, George highlights that we are part of a long legacy of human contemplation and comprehension. The epic is more than just a tale. It serves as a guide, a teacher, and a companion in exploring the essence of humanity. The Epic of Gilgamesh also shows the importance of being humble. It reminds us that everyone, no matter how successful, will eventually face the same realities. George explains that the message of the story is subtle but powerful. It encourages us to accept our limits, understand our mortality, and value the temporary nature of life. These teachings are especially impactful because they come from an ancient culture, yet they still apply to our lives today. George's analysis demonstrates that the challenges humans face with fear, hope, grief, and finding meaning are universal throughout time. The questions raised in the poem are ones that any reader, no matter when they lived, can relate to and think about. In simple terms, Andrew George's work on the Epic of Gilgamesh is very valuable.